Y'all asked me for it, so I did it, and I did it on myself. So you can do this on yourself at home too. This is a DIY shag / mullet / wolf cut, and I'm gonna show you how I'm about to do it. If you want to show me some love, make sure to subscribe and like this video today, and I'll do more stuff like this for you guys. So this is the before, obviously. And you guys have already seen the after. There's going to be some more angles of the after as well as the back. And I'm basically just going to tell you guys how I went through this step by step. I started by taking a large triangle section for the bangs. That's always what you're going to start with because you're going to base the whole shag cut off of your bangs. So what I did was I balanced the comb on the top of my head, and where my head started to tilt downwards towards my face, that's where I decided to take the top of my bangs from and basically create a triangle form from there and pull it up. The rest of the hair that I'm not going to worry about right now, I'm pulling back and out of the way so I don't get it all confused and messed up. Now I'm going to take a spray bottle and I'm going to wet down this front area. This is what I want to be the heaviest part of my bangs. I do have a bit of a cowlick in the center there, so what I want to do is take from kind of further back on my hair and use that to weigh down the cowlick and to fill in that middle gap area. So if you have a cowlick, don't worry, you can have this haircut too. It just takes a little bit more weight from the rest of your hair to kind of fill in that weird spot. And then I'm splitting that piece in half. I'm gonna clip that last part away and it's going to be textured later. Right now I'm cutting the base because if you take this little area underneath a little bit too short, that's okay. You've got that other area on top that's going to be adjustable and you can kind of play around with it afterwards. I didn't cut it too short today. I cut it to exactly like I wanted, but that's because I regularly cut bangs. So I would suggest that you do start with a little longer than you're thinking and then kind of work up from there. What I'm doing is I've cut the middle and then I've cut down one side and met down to a length that I like at the very ends of the bangs. I'm bringing the other side and I'm trying to match from the little guide that I've made for myself. And I am using a razor. I believe this is more like a feather razor where it has like a little protection guide so that you don't cut yourself. It's great. I love this. I use this for all of my mullet cuts. And if you haven't seen my other men's mullet cut video, you should go check that out too because I give a lot of good insights and tutorials on how to use a razor properly. So then I've taken the top piece down because I'm really satisfied with where the bottom piece is for length, and I've just kind of cut it straight across. Now I'm going to do some texturizing after I re-wet it down, and this is kind of where you finesse the shape of everything. So it's looking pretty straight across, so I'm taking the corner of my razor and making like little tiny V shapes in the ends of my bangs, and that's going to give it all these like different little heights so that everything's really piecey and really soft in the ends of the bangs. Then I blow dried them and wanted to get a little bit of volume and shape out of them to see how I like the starting piece of my hair. And once I've decided that I like that, I can kind of work a little bit more at texturizing and adding on to the next bit. So that looks a little bit straight across to me. I'm taking my thinning shears and kind of cutting peaks and valleys into the ends of my hair to kind of give it more of that wispiness because they're very thick, heavy bangs. I don't want the very ends to be very thick and heavy, just the kind of top to give it that kind of fullness of that Bridget Bardot kind of bang look. Once you're happy with the texturizing and the finishing of your bangs, you're essentially going to work from the bangs towards the back of the hair. So I'm doing this section by section. I've lifted up the bangs. I'm happy with them and how they sit when I pull my hair up, but the rest of my hair is so heavy and block-like and so one length, I decided to keep going. So essentially this started out as bangs and then I was like, screw that. I'm going to do the full shag mullet thing that I've been wanting to do, and I'm just going to go full send. So the way that you do that is you get happy with what's around the face first and then bring everything towards that area and you go little bit by little bit. So I've taken the first 2 finger widths of my face framing kind of hairline area and I'm pulling it down and forward, and then I'm using my razor blade to just give it some really soft edges. And this is where you can get really finicky with it. You can get really slow at each piece, and like that's good. It's good to take your time because this is what's directly framing your face. So I'm using a combination between my razor and my thinning shears. I never once pulled out regular shears for this service because I want to have those soft, like almost like raggedy, shaggy, unfinished looking ends because I don't like that straight across look. I did leave the lengths of my hair alone today because I can't cut around the back by myself. But if I find that I am not 100% happy with this later, what I'm going to do is get a friend to chip into my ends, or maybe I'll chip into them when my hair's upside down later. But essentially what I'm doing is working around the face, creating long angles and making sure that my shape is good before I move on to the next section. Any little pieces that create more of a square shape, I'm going to chip upwards in with my thinning shears because the razor takes out chunks at a time. So I definitely don't want to go too heavy-handed on the razor to begin with. That's something that you can use more so near the ends when you're wanting to give it some more texturized pieciness, but I do want some evenness up in the front. So that's why I kind of went in with my thinning shears, because it's a little bit of a safer route to go in than with your razor. Basically, as I work away, I'm just pulling up my hair to see how I like what falls around the face, making sure it's pretty even, but I don't want full entire symmetry because that's not what a shag is all about. It's about like these soft ends. I do want to make sure everything kind of comes down to the same length, but I don't want it to be blunt looking ends. And now what I'm going to do here is kind of grab from the crown of my head, which is the very top part of my head, bring all of that forward, and because I've gotten more confident in how I'm using my hands and the mirror and everything, I'm able to take bigger sections. You definitely don't want to do this much hair at first if you're starting to get used to using a razor on yourself. And then what I'm doing is, at these little angles, I'm not putting the razor in totally vertically, it's on a slight tilt, and what that's going to do is just shave out little tiny texturized pieces in any place that I put it. So this is a really soft way of taking out that bulk and that weight in the ends, and I've brought everything forward because that over directs it and layers it forward. And as you do this, you're going to notice more and more pieciness in the sides and more softening, more layers, more volume, and that's exactly what I want to see, all these little pieces coming down. And you can even tell one side versus the other, one's more textured and fun and full, the other one's blunt and kind of boring and kind of weirdly hangs there. So I decided, you know, even after this piece, I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna add more layers. And that's what I really like about shags, is that you get to see all this texture in them and you get to see all this volume and fullness. And I felt like when I have something that's really blunt, it just kind of pulls my face down. It weighs it down. I want a lot of hair framing the face, and I want something that's really fun to put up because then all these cute little pieces hang down, because I put my hair up all the time. So this is kind of a best of the both worlds. Even for someone who has like flat, dull, boring hair like me, I'm able to play around with it using some gritty shampoo products like dry shampoo, some surf foam that will give me the kind of texture that I need, because I don't have natural waves. Anybody who does is going to have an easier time styling a shag mullet, but if you have soft, kind of fine, flat, boring, do-nothing hair like me, then just utilize some salt and some grit, and that will give you the exact shape that you want. This cut is all about reducing bulk and adding layers little bit by little bit if you're doing it on yourself. Don't go too fast. I'm a professional hairstylist and I do this cut a lot, and it did take me about 35 to 40 minutes to cut my hair myself. So don't let it take you to the point where you're like, oh, this is taking too long. Like, do a little bit at a time and you'll be more comfortable as you go. Don't be too hasty with the scissors. What I'm doing here is I'm lifting up pieces from the side of my hair, and anytime you see one of these like peaks, I'm going to thin that out with my thinning shears and kind of play around in there to soften up those edges, lift up the ends of my hair. And I do have like more hair on one side of my head than the other. I don't know how many people have that, but I just do. And here I'm lifting up my bangs because I want the very top layer of them to be really soft and fluffy and lightweight, like almost like they have invisible layers. So I've just taken this really tiny thin section and I'm just using my thinning shears on that. Taking your thinning shears and chipping upwards will ensure that you don't get any like weird straight across lines, especially if it's your first time using them. Always use them on an angle up into your hair so you create these little peaks and valleys in the ends of your hair. Now here's like the finishing touch. What I'm doing is I'm lifting up my whole parting. It's a little bit from either side of my parting, and I'm chipping into the very ends of it with my thinning shears to soften that up. And what that's gonna do is give me a little like micro invisible layers up on the very top of my hair. They're gonna sit on top of everything, but they're gonna be really soft. You definitely don't want to be heavy-handed when you're doing these because you can see where a line is created with your very top layer. So using just my thinning shears, I'm going to be texturizing into the ends, and then at another point I do take my razor and just do that same little angled piecing out through the ends of it. And I'm also going to be choosing some bits and pieces here and there after I blow dry it to kind of shorten up and take out the weight of all these little areas individually, and that's just gonna furthermore add to all of this. It essentially is just chunking out little pieces of your hair at a time and working on soft diagonal angles and sections. And at the end, you're gonna find that when you brush all of your hair forward and down, you're gonna have basically all of it come to like this same U shape, this upside down U shape around your face. If there's any big pieces kind of hanging down in front of your face where they're not supposed to be, that's a piece that needs to be played around with a little bit more. It's a very finessed, artsy way of cutting your hair, but I really like it. It's really fun, and hair grows back. I'm very happy with this end result, and I hope that you guys get something from this tutorial and are able to play around with something fun with your hair as well. I love it when it's up. It's so, so cute. I did want to like lighten up my bangs a little bit more here too with the thinning shears and the ends, but I am so happy with this. Just keep putting it up and playing around with it, moving it around. Here you see I'm kind of like checking it to make sure there's no weird giant chunks hanging down in front of my face. And now I'm about to style it. I'm putting in some Surf Foam by Bumble and Bumble. And this is just gonna give me that grit that I was talking about earlier. I'm just putting it through my dry hair, and I'm gonna use my blow dryer on it a little bit and comb it through. And it's gonna give me that texture and grit that I want in my hair. This is the back of it. It's still pretty blunt, but I do have like these little tiny little layers that you can see moving around when I shift my head, but it's nothing crazy. I didn't want to go overboard in the back because I can't see it. And here is the front after she's finished. This is like the best cut I've ever had. This is my favorite cut. And I really hope that you guys do this cut too. And remember to tag me in your pictures on Instagram at Bobby Hair Studio so I can see what you guys did with this tutorial. I hope you all learned something from it. I really love it. It's my favorite because it's a mix of like the mullet and shag and wolf cut. It's almost like a tame wolf cut. I would call it like maybe like a husky cut. And when I tuck it behind my ears, it's more like a mullet. When I leave it down, it's like a shag. When I put it up, I've got big, heavy Bridget Bardot bangs. It's my favorite. I hope you guys liked it. Have a great day, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe to support this channel. Only 10% of people who've been watching my videos have been subscribing. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that for me. That'd be so, so sweet. Have a great day.